I want to make a map of a fantasy city, but I want to do it as quickly as possible. So check this out. I'm using the word dragons, or actually the letters in the word dragons, to figure out the layout of the streets in this city. So I got my big Posca marker and just a regular sheet of white paper, and I'm writing out the word dragons, but I'm varying the size of each letter, and I'm mixing up the orientation, kind of rotating the letters so they overlap and build out this map of these city streets. The word dragons doesn't matter at all. You can use whatever word you want. I like dragons, so I'm using dragons. Now, I could add more words or letters to make the map a little bit bigger, but I'm just going to add a few extra lines here and there to kind of cityfy this street map. But the cool thing about this process is that by using the word and the letters in the word, you kind of get out of your head about planning a realistic looking city layout. And what's really cool is that in a matter of minutes, like a minute, you have a realistic or at least believable layout for a city. So I just got this new book by Andrew Kolb called Oz, Fantasy Role-Playing Setting. And there's this one little section of the book among many, many, many helpful sections that describes this method of very, very quickly coming up with the city streets of a section of Oz. So this book is a setting book. It's like a point crawl through the Emerald City, and it has all kinds of wonderful tools like this to help you run a game inside the city. Of course, there are a ton of great characters, magic items, maps, random tables. It's just a really lovely book that has a great tone, and it's full of excellent ideas like this map drawing technique that are useful even if you aren't running a D&D game inside the Wizard of Oz world. So I'm not quite satisfied with just coming up with the city streets of this random fantasy city. So I'm going to take this one step further, or maybe a couple steps further. So I'm going to use my light box and my Posca markers. And for this process, you don't need Posca markers specifically. That's just what I'm using. You can use colored pencils or even crayons, whatever you have. And I'm going to be filling in the spaces in between the city streets, kind of like solid blocks of color that represent the city blocks. And the reason I'm using the light box is because I want to see where the streets are that I've already planned out with the word dragons, but I want to leave those spaces blank on this actual drawing. So the streets will actually be the white of the paper in between all these city blocks of color. Originally, I was just going to use one color, but then I thought, let's make this a little more vibrant and interesting and use multiple colors. And that got me thinking, each color could be its own district of this city. And I started to imagine some sort of turf war going on. Like in the Oz book, each area could be controlled by a powerful wizard or a famous person of influence. Now, I'm just drawing a city. I don't know what the city is called. I don't know what's actually going on in these different districts, but maybe you have some ideas. So if you can think of a cool name for the city and what each of these districts are all about, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. Once these blocks are all in, I'm going to put a gray border around the whole thing to represent the walls of the city. I'm putting round circles for the towers that go at all the important parts. There's 2 towers that'll be the gates of where the streets exit the city, and, anywhere there's a major corner, just keeping it simple with circles and lines. Now, we could stop there. This would work perfectly as a map to hand your players and let them fill out the sections as they explore the city. But of course, I wanted to go one step further again, and using a smaller 0.7 millimeter black Posca pen, I'm going to add some buildings to this city map. So I'm keeping it really simple, just triangles and lines and little arch doorways. And the fun thing about this process is I'm mixing up the different styles of buildings for each district. So the coral color gets pointy towers, and the green color gets real blocky type buildings, and blue are buildings that are all stacked up and piled on top of each other. And I don't know, maybe this says something about the types of factions in each of these areas. And I imagine this city to be really big, and each of these blocks has way more buildings than I'm illustrating here. But the idea is that each of these buildings I'm drawing maybe represents one of the important places that the players might want to explore in each district or each block. So yeah, I hope seeing this process gives you the confidence to try and make your own city map. It's a lot of fun doing this stuff, and I was really surprised at how quickly this all came together. I spent less than an hour on this drawing, and I could totally build out an entire D&D campaign from just this one map. If you'd like to see the type of adventures that I make, or you'd like to support the channel and help me make more videos, check out my Patreon. It's linked down in the description. This month, I'm working on a book full of encounters that the players might come across on a lonely, dark road that's maybe heading towards this fantasy city. Let me know what you think of this map down in the comments. What should I call the city? What are each of these districts all about? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!